Welcome back to the channel. We'll be talking about the New York Giants.
Dylan, I thought they had an interesting draft. Just going off the rip, starting with their third pick, Abdul Carter, the edge rusher from Penn State, and I thought that was an obvious pick. He might be the best player in the draft, and we kind of started to know that Trav was going to go too this whole time. Didn't know it was going to be to the Jags, but uh, once it was kind of narrowed down to that, I think everyone kind of started believing and realizing that the Giants were going to pick Abdul Carter, and I really like it. I'm glad that they didn't overthink it, and clearly they weren't going to pick Shador or anything, so it's the right pick to me.
Probably the best guy in the draft next to Travis Hunter. I like it. I hope they said they're going to keep Thibodeau, so I don't know what they're going to do as far as rotations, but you got to think that this guy's going to be, at the
Yeah,
primary, the starting
yeah,
position, right?
yeah. We're going back to the Giants that won their Super Bowls whenever they just had crazy D lines and just depth and star players on the D line. Abdul's a guy that's moved around a lot. He played off the ball at one point, and I think it was last year, and so that gives them a lot of versatility. I'm sure they'll move him like in and out, like maybe over the center and guard sometimes. But you got Brian Burns and Dexter Lawrence too, Kayvon Thibodeau. That's a crazy, crazy talented pass rush right there.
66 quarterback pressure, second in FBS.
Yeah, there. He definitely looks. He looked like Micah wearing number 11 for Penn State out there, and obviously that's an easy comparison, but I think he'll bring his own touch to the game, and I just thought this was an obvious pick for the Giants.
Yeah, hopefully. Something that sucked that I saw was he tried to get Lawrence Taylor's number. You saw that? Dude, that would have been freaking. That would have been interesting to see a 56 on a stud
Yeah,
out wide, but
that's crazy. Lawrence turned him down. I mean, understandable, but
yeah. Honestly, their next pick is my favorite as far as all things considered. Trading up to get Jackson Dart, I freaking love it, dude. I thought he was starting to become an easy quarterback too for me. I think the only game I watched from him last year, just I don't know, I should have tuned in more, but the Florida game, which I know for a fact was his last and worst game, um, at least in the regular season. But dude, he can throw the ball and he can put it where he wants to, and he can run. So, assuming he did good in the meetings with Dayball, which uh, is a big deal for them apparently.
yeah,
I'm assuming he did pretty well for them. So
yeah, you could see in that off-season Hard Knocks with the Giants last year that those quarterback meetings, especially with Dayball, are tough. So, first of all, I would love to see what happened with Shador there. Like,
yeah,
I wonder how it went, but I mean, you gotta be quick and intelligent, mentally. So, um, yeah, I thought it was good in terms of you get the guy number 3 overall that might be the best player in the draft and Abdul, and then trade up in the later end of the first. And if you really do like a guy, which they did with Jackson Dart. And another thing too is that I like that they're sitting him for a year. I didn't think this was a guy that was good to just come in and instantly be a guy like a dude in the league. And you know, Ole Miss has an interesting offense, not a pro style offense at all. And he didn't even have a snap count. I don't know if you saw the thing with John Gruden, but he asked him, "What's your snap count?" And he just did this. And so, I mean,
yeah,
that's a huge thing in the NFL. They're not clapping. You got to have a real cadence and all that kind of stuff. So, um, definitely a developmental piece. And another thing is that the Giants are kind of on their, last in terms of their GM Joe Shane and Brian Dabble are both on their last leg. Like they need to prove something right here. And so if they don't and they get, shit canned, then I don't know what happens with Jackson Dart. I think he's still the future for the Giants, but I think ideally for him, you know, you know, uh, Brian Daboll ends up staying, which I like him. I think he's a good coach. He's just needed his quarterback, and so yeah, I think the future for the Giants are interesting. But getting Abdul helps out their current right now and the future, but so that those guys are able to stay, mainly Daboll, so that he can coach up Jackson Dart and make him be their guy for the future.
Yeah, great analysis on Jackson Dart, bro.
Yeah,
You've said everything that I agree with everything you said. I'm gonna go ahead and go on to Darius Alexander because great value. I know PFF already says it, but he was, I believe, the highest rated interior defensive lineman on the board when they were picking at 65, 90 overall PFF grade, third on all interior defensive linemen in the class. Dude, up to this point, like I know every analyst is really saying it, and I may just be optimistic, but everyone's really had a pretty good draft. And so far, the Giants are just right on stride, and you can already see Cam Scatterboo on there. Like their first 4 picks were just they nailed them, bro. Like,
yeah,
but what do you think about Darius Alexander?
yeah. I like pairing him next to Dexter Lawrence. That's a great D tackle to slide in next to, because that dude takes up so much attention and blocking and just sheer number of blockers, a lot of double teams. So I think Darius Alexander has a good chance to step in and play a big role for him probably pretty soon off the bat.
Yeah, that D line is starting to look really nice. I
Yeah,
mean,
100%.
dude,
They gave him a crazy good PFF grade too, which, I mean, he went to Toledo, so he wasn't playing the greatest competition, but
yeah,
he was dominating it clearly, so did what he needed to. But right here,
does.
Dylan, I think this is someone that you mentioned, but I think a lot of people really like him, is Cam Scatterboo. And, I love the pick. I think it's a great value pick right here. I think he could have went earlier easily, and I would have been completely fine with that. Um, but I think just a lot of people really started liking him, especially once he kind of hit the scene in the Big 12 chip, and then in that playoff game against Texas, it kind of showed his versatility. And PFF right here is telling us that it had him at running back 3 and their 51st overall player. And I just, like I said, I really like the pick. He's a versatile player. Like he's got power, can catch the rock, and he has a chance too. This is another dude that I could see him maybe even starting right off the rip for the Giants. I mean, you got Tyrone Tracy, and I like the young, duo of him and Tyrone Tracy. But Dylan, I don't know what you think, but can't you see Scatterboo coming in and going off in camp and ending up being the guy?
Yeah, and Tyrone Tracy, a little bit of fumbling issues, probably a better guy out the backfield. But like you said, in the Texas game, that dude showed he can catch the ball. He led the team in receiving and rushing in that game. They talk about speed not being that great, but dude, this dude, he'll just run over you. If you catch up to him, he'll stiff arm you. Like this dude seeks contact, and PFF says it like he's the only guy that broke more tackles than Ashton Genty. If you watch watching his highlights is a good time. Sit back, crack one open, and watch him, bro. Because dude, those highlights are really fun to watch. But you're 100% right. This dude could totally take the backfield. I will say that his running style, the refusing to go down, you will get hurt doing that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like if you run the ball with the mentality like I will not go down, you'd be surprised. You're able to do it. You're able to stay up, but at the same time, you will freaking bend your knee the wrong way trying to do that. So I hope that doesn't happen to him, and I hope he's smarter when he runs the ball because sometimes I'm like, dude, just go down. But I think there's a real shot he takes over the backfield. I don't think Tyrone Tracy was that good. Like his numbers were good, but I don't know that it was completely him. I know the Giants O line gets a lot of hate. They're not terrible in the run. Um,
Yeah, and he just got a good volume of carries and touches, so the numbers kind of are going to look solid regardless. Um, but another thing that stood out to me real quick before we go on to the next pick is that he was in the 85th percentile, according to PFF in gap and zone schemes, um, which is important for just being able to fit in any offense. I feel like if you have that versatility and are really good at both, I mean, that's another thing that kind of just reinforces the idea that this dude might be running back one whenever week one rolls around.
yeah, I'll be happy to see it happen, dude. I would, being a Cowboys fan, I'd be tuning into those Giants games
Oh,
just to see
100%.
that. That dude's got he's an exciting runner, that's for sure. Um, Marcus Mimbo
Yeah, in bow maybe.
Bao. I don't know how to say his name great, but I do know him as a prospect. I know, yeah, like PFF says, 84th ranked player on the big board. They got him at 154. That's probably about right at where that's projected, right? But
Yeah.
um, if you consider all the positions and needs and things, but um, low 70s overall, past 3 seasons, but continued to grow each season. And like PFF says, biggest strength was run blocking, which if you get Scattaboo, this is good news, man. He's good at any scheme you want. And this dude can, they say it, play a
Yeah.
significant role right away.
Yeah, and then obviously you got Andrew Thomas at left tackle, but still a lot of question marks with Evan Neal. I mean, that's probably just going to go down as a bust of a pick. And then I know Illuminor, I believe, is on their team, and I think he played some tackle. But I mean, if this guy can show out, he could probably jump both those dudes, and then you just bump Illuminor back to guard, and maybe this guy jumps Evan Neal, which would be crazy, kind of depressing if you're a Giants fan. But um, it does say that he's an 84th ranked player on PFF's big board, so according to them, that's a super steal of a pick, which is kind of a trend with some of these teams that we've kind of broken down. Is there's a lot of drafts that we like, which maybe it's just because we're in the moment and we've kind of scouted these players a little bit and started to like a lot of them. But I kind of really just think there's just been a lot of good drafts, really.
Yeah, everyone did a great job, in my opinion. Obviously, we'll see how it plays out, and they'll grade differently in time. But James, you got a Nebraska here in the 7th round.
Yeah, and in Oklahoma State back to back.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah,
know
we got
about him.
Thomas Gaboni out of Nebraska, 7th round, pick 219. Frankly, I did not think that he was going to get drafted. So he was the number one tight end coming out of our graduation class 2021, came to Nebraska, and he ended up hurting his knees twice. So the movement is definitely not as good as what you kind of would want it to be. I think if he never hurt his knees, he's probably a guy that goes higher. Um, but I think that he could be a solid kind of security blanket, come in and be a tight end like 3, and hopefully develop into something better than that. But it says right here he's one of the best pass blocking tight ends in the class, and if you're good at blocking, either pass blocking or especially run blocking as a tight end, you're probably going to be able to slide into a team at the back end of their tight end room.
100%. I love that both our schools are here, right here in the
Yeah.
7th round. Their last pick of the draft is Corey Black. I played with him for a little bit. Um, they said he has a 74 coverage grade in zone. Um, I thought he was a pretty well-rounded corner. I think this is honestly a steal in the 7th round. I think his first big game was the Big 12 championship a few years ago. I feel like that's when, if I remember correctly, that's when he started getting a lot of his snaps. Was right there in the freaking conference title game. But he stepped up and played well. If you're playing a corner, you don't hear your name too much. That's a good thing. So,
Yeah.
he's an elite dude. I think he definitely has the potential. He never made any bad plays. You don't see him getting moss. You don't see that type of thing happen to Corey Black. And I think if he gets the right coaching, he'll develop into a good corner. I think off the bat, he's a good depth guy, and he definitely is there for special teams. He's been doing that at Oklahoma State. So, Seamus, what do you think about this draft overall?
Yeah, you got to like it. Do you know if they traded a first to the Texans for this Jackson Dart pick? I don't think they did because I think they gave him like the 34th pick, which is Jaden Higgins. So I didn't think they had to give up a first to get up there.
No, they didn't.
Which is crazy because I mean I know it's the 34th pick, but one pick later the Falcons gave up a first to get up there. So
yeah, but they jumped a lot though. Like
you
said, they picked at 34, so it was like
it's I don't know. I'm still just I can't believe that trade from the Falcons, but I really like trading up and just securing your guy at quarterback. Obviously get Abdul Carter. If you get arguably the best player in the draft at 3, I think that automatically is going to make me like your draft. And then, you get Scattaboo in there, not to mention all the other guys, but just I think some fun players in their draft class. I think this is one of those teams where I'm going to be really excited to tune in to their games next year because there's just going to be a lot of new guys playing. You got Russ starting at quarterback probably, but also Abdul, maybe Scattaboo. Who knows? Maybe Jackson Dart. I don't think he's going to start, but
not off the rip.
Nah, but I'm excited to see how it all shakes out for him. But I like the draft.
I did too, especially we say this with every team, but their first 4 picks, dude, are just excellent. Getting Dart, allowing him to join a very good veteran room. I mean, how about that? I saw Dion cracking jokes about the Giants' prayer. You got Winston and Russell Wilson leading the team prayer. I mean, that's freaking sick, dude. Those are 2 guys. There's no better guys to be doing that for the team. But they also are elite quarterbacks, and I know they're both at the end of their careers, but they're great leaders and great locker room dudes from literally everything we've heard. But we'll see if they'll be doing high knees on the plane, though.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to happen. You got to have all 3 of these guys. Jameis Winston, Russ is obviously leading it. He's going to he's going to hype you up before, the stretch lines and all the guys are trying to sleep. And you get Dart in there and, just get some stretches in, maybe some lunges. I don't know, bend over, touch the toes, that kind of shit. So you already know the Giants team playing is going to be just electric next year. So, I'm excited to see what they're going to do.
Me too, man. And if you guys like the video, then like it, man, and subscribe, and hopefully we see you guys getting active in the comment section. You feel me?
Yeah.
But
that's what you think.
Go Giants!
Shout out Giants!